Okay, I wanted to make a butter video here, how to make butter. I'll probably have to voice over this because stupid vacuum's running, but anyway, so that's fine. So the things you need, I use my food processor. You don't have one, then you have to figure out a different way to do it. But I've got some cream here. I've got, this is cream I've skimmed off raw. It's raw cream. We get raw milk from a farm. I've got a little plastic bowl. I'll use that later. I've got some salt and sea salt. I like to use a sea salt. I got my favorite spatula. And I've got one of these little things that come from Crisco comes in them. It's a little plastic deal with a lid. I have a little kitchen strainer, just a little cheap. It's plastic. And I have a piece of cheesecloth. I bought a little bit higher quality unbleached cheesecloth. And I've got a bowl that it sets up. It's a measuring cup, but it sets right in there. So, see that. So this is all you have to do. And I'm just going to let this run the whole time, and then we'll edit it down if we need to. But I pour my cream in the processor. And it does have a maximum fill line on the side for liquid. Now, I can go just a hair over that, but I don't want to go much over that because if you do, it will leak out of the bottom. But that's a pretty good amount there. That'll make what butter that'll make almost a stick of butter. So usually it varies depending on how rich cream that is, but now to start that. And now I usually set my timer that runs 10 minutes. And the 10 minutes is the estimate. It's not necessarily a set time, but it's how long it takes to go. You'll start it off after it actually makes the butter. And what it's going to do is going to whip this cream kind of, so it'll become like whipped cream, and then it begins to be kind of like almost a frothy butter, and then finally the whey will separate. The buttermilk will separate from the butter with fat solids, and you'll see what that looks like here in about 10 minutes. It's been 10 minutes, as you can see, or maybe you can't. It's still kind of frothy and foamy, and it hasn't separated yet. Let's see if I can get that closer. What you'll also notice, the sound will change. You kind of start to see, I don't know, you see some of that in there. Is the fat starting to separate, but it's not out there yet. It won't hurt nothing to take a look at it. See, it looks kind of like a whipped butter right now, which that would be pretty good, but no, it's not. And so we'll turn that back on. And now it's a matter of just waiting and focus that way. It's a matter of just waiting for it to separate fully. And like I said, the sound of the food processor will change. It'll start spinning a lot faster, I think, and it's less drag on it. I mean, it almost turns from this state to butter's almost like magic, as they say. So I don't know if you heard that now. I don't know if this is how it's recording sound right here. It's really spinning fast, and you don't see chunks in it any longer. So this, and now we're at this point where this is just about what you're looking for. See, it's got it kind of looks like cottage cheese or something in there. So this is done. Picture here. We don't need this anymore. Let me get rid of that. Just move the camera back here and let me try to do this without dumping everything on the laptop and the camera. These we really don't need yet, but so really it's just a matter now of just pouring this into this through this cheesecloth in this strainer. Now you want to kind of watch your little paddle. It'll come out of there. Now I get all the buttery goodness out of there that I can. I don't like to waste any of it. That can be rinsed out. Now what we've got now, as you see in here, it looks kind of like back here in the right spot. It looks kind of like a crumbly butter. And then we're going to move over here. If my cord be long enough. And ignore my messy sink. But, adjust all this, I can see. My wife's gloves, you don't look at those either. But now you just take this, bring this over. Now at this point, I've got a second cup here. And what you can do, this is all multi-handed stuff you got to do here. So this, if you want to keep this buttermilk, now don't think it's like buttermilk, like cultured buttermilk. It's kind of like skim milk. And you can save it and do other things with it. Currently, I don't have a good use for it, but I'll save a little in case I come up with something. It's good for bake stuff. But I let my water run here a lot, and it's cold. It's cold coming out of the tap. And now you just want to run that rinse out your butter. If you can see the water coming out the bottom is milky. You want to run that until it clears up. Now it won't get all the milk out of there, but you want as much milk out of there as you can get. Because if you do, the butter will last longer for one thing. It makes it, and you won't have all this water in it. But to me it makes it better. And you don't want to save anything that's coming out of it now because it's just watery milk. And it's kind of getting pretty close to being. Now don't use warm water to just melt it. You got to use pretty cool water. You don't want to melt your butter, or it'll go right through the strainer. I've been making butter for here the last, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months. Ever since we've been buying our milk raw, we haven't bought much butter. We've been making all our own butter, and we like not, you don't know where the milk comes from the cows that make it at the store, and you don't know what they do necessarily. And there's nothing wrong with stick butter. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with it, but I would rather make my own. And wish I had a little bit more cream at times so I could make more than I do. And we'll let that's pretty clear now. Turn that off. And now I'll I'll just set it back down on this. We'll move back over here. So now this is where, at this point, you come and you have your salt. I like to take my salt and just a pinch or two is all it takes in this amount. Like I say, this is sea salt that's non-iodized or anything. Again, I'm not a stickler. I'm not going to sit around saying, oh, that's the only way to do it. And I like to let this set just for a minute. The salt helps kind of dry off some of the water, I think. But I like to let it set. And you can kind of start moving it towards the middle with the cheesecloth. You can also use a muslin tea towel or butter muslin they call it. I have this cheesecloth seems to work good. Like I said, I bought this a finer, a heavier cheesecloth, and I use the same one for a very long period of time because after you get this, just your water on, get it really hot, it'll melt all the butter out of it. And then I use some, we've got a hot water dispenser over there that puts out near boiling water, and I sterilize this afterwards in that really, really hot water. So once this is set, which this isn't too bad, you can pull this up out of here, the pouch, give it a little bit of a squeeze and squeeze as much water. Don't squeeze it too much or you squeeze the butter right out through the, the thing. And I'm not very good on it, am I? And that's what I've got this bowl for. This one, I'm just going to get dirty so my wife has to wash it. I like it better. I like it the shape of it. You can use it. So I like this kind of rounded bottom, because what I'll do is now I'll take this butter. Now I added the salt earlier. If you want unsalted butter, now see that's pretty clean. So this will go back over and be. I'll clean it and sterilize it. Now you keep this, or you can use the sink. I use it in the sink but I'm doing this video, so and I take this spatula. I said was my favorite spatula earlier. I've got nicks on it and stuff. I don't know what I stuck it up against, but now you start pressing this butter. And when you start pressing this butter, I don't know if you can see this. You'll see that water. Let's see here. It's terrible. Hard to take a picture of it. Turn that down. You'll see water in the bottom. Look at the water without dumping it out. There's water down there. See it flashing back and forth? And you'll keep squeezing out, and then you just dump it. I just dump it right back in this bowl here. Get that over a little closer. And just keep. I push it to the side. Let's see if I'm getting the camera here. I push it to the side like this, up one side of this. That's why I like this round bowl, the rounded bottom bowl. And as it accumulates opposite corner here with the water, I pour it out. And I just keep doing that for a little while. It kind of mixes the salt in, presses all the water out, and you want as much water out as you can get. I don't think you can ever get totally all of it out of there, but I used to not rinse it, and then I started rinsing it, and I think I got a little bit better butter rinsing it than I did just pressing the milk whey out, or the buttermilk out. So I like to try to stay in the camera here. Maybe I need to scoot back a little bit so I'm not moving above. But I like to keep just squeezing it up the side of the bowl. I know it's hard to see what I'm doing. I need a sky cam, I guess, that goes above, or I need a head camera so you can see what I'm looking at. I have a little camera that you can wear on your head, but it's not very, doesn't shoot very good pictures. It's not very clear, so I don't think it'd be, especially in here. And I may have to look about getting something. The one I'm filming on right now is a little Firewire eyeball camera, iBot camera, orange micro. I've had it for years. It won't run on some of the newer Macs, but it runs on this laptop all right. And it's a pretty good little camera. It's not quite as good as the camera on the laptop, but it's a little bit easier to move around. And it may be, I don't know, you can see it's just a little bit not as sharp as it could be, but it's a pretty good little camera. Like I say, I probably had it for, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years. I don't make them anymore. It looks like a little eyeball, and has a bare foot on the bottom of it. So, but it's made in the style of the old if you remember the old iMacs, that they're jelly bean ones or whatever they called them, that were clear or colored. That's what it looks like. It's from that era. They made the big Macs that way too. If you're a Mac person, you know that. But anyway, so I've done this now. I've got pretty much most of the water. I'll never get it all out. It's impossible to do. But it started to really slow down. There's just not much coming out now. Pull it up now. And so at this point, I don't want just a lump of butter. Some people make these round things, but what I discovered was I could use these things that are from the Crisco. I don't know if I'll get in trouble showing that, but Crisco, and then I put my butter over into it. Just press it into this square, and it I end up. It's bigger than a. I'd like to have something that's more the size of a regular stick of butter, so it'd make it easier to measure if you were gonna, if you needed a tablespoon or whatever. But most of the time we just guess. We don't. It doesn't matter. But this butter won't quite fill this up, and it'll make, I don't know, quarter of a pound or so. Well, not a quarter of a pound, but quarter of a stick, maybe close to a stick, which is a quarter pound. So yeah, it makes close to that. Now again, this will vary depending on how rich your cream is you start out with. Currently, the place we're buying our milk from, they have Jersey cows. But both the cows are fresh, and then they're getting milk from somebody else and milking somebody else's cows. And they must be, I don't know, Holsteins or something. The milk is not very rich, and it's not that good. But I don't know, it's better store-bought. And it's pretty cheap. We get, considering we get, I was buying 1.5 gallons, but with our cows at the issue, I'm back down to 1 gallon. And it used to be with 1.5 gallons, I would end up with just a little over 1 gallon of milk to drink and a good quart of cream. And I paid $4.50 for that. So you try to buy cream at the store, it's going to be more than $4.50. Matter of fact, right now, heavy whipping cream, I noticed, is hovering around $8 a quart, so, or half gallon. Probably half gallon. So I think I'm probably doing a little bit better. But with our new diet we're on, I've got that up there. We can't even see what I'm doing. I'm just smoothing this out, making it pretty. And you see, it didn't fill it up. It's I don't know, a little over half full maybe. But that's okay. When it's full, it's actually a big chunk of butter, and this will be fine. I like to get as much on there as I can, get my thing scraped clean. Get all that down in there. Good, because dust is always a precious commodity. But anyway, whenever since they've had this other cows, I haven't got near the cream, and it's not been that good. It's not been very thick and rich, and the milk's not as good. And so can't wait till they get the jerseys back, and then I can get my 1.5 gallons back again. Now we're not drinking near as much, but we're making yogurt. I got that in another video. Actually, I'm filming it today, and while the yogurt's making, I'm making butter out of the cream. So anyway, there's pretty much my stick of butter. I'm hard to see in the light. There it is. There's my stick of butter. I'll put the lid on there. And now this will go in the freezer. I'm going to freeze it. And then what I usually do is I freeze it, and then after it's frozen, I will take it out, and if I need to, I'll run some hot water over the bottom of the container, and I'll pop it out of there, and I'll put it in one of the vac seal bags and vac seal it and date it and label it and throw it back in the freezer, and that way I can pull them out and thaw them as I need them. But anyway, that's the butter. You saw how long it took. Actual labor wasn't that much, so I was not even here. Obviously, they were sitting there filming, and I was off doing something else. But anyway, that's butter. Now there's a little bit of a mess to clean up, but that is it.